what I'm calling team center, an alternative approach to activism to the traditional view that I'm flippantly calling team savage attack. What's team savage attack? That's when you stigmatize and moralize about your opponents. You call them immoral, you label them as morons, you criticize them, and you totally reject everything they stand for. It turns out that does really well at mobilizing our side of the story. People will like your posts more, they'll donate more, and they'll come to rallies. The problem is that it also alienates the centrists and the people on the other side. They may even mobilize against you. So what you see over time is that team savage attack can often successfully give voice to a set of ideas, but also can promote polarization and stalemates. So I would argue there's an evidence basis from negotiation and social psychology to highlight the value of incremental change at the center. Now that often is not in line with the values and goals of the extremists, we'll call them, team savage attack, that would like to just put forward a view that's pure and undiluted. I'm going to use the words extreme and moderate, but I don't mean to impose a moral judgment or to have negative connotations of either side. I'm going to refer to people who have more extreme views as people that see the other side as incompetent, immoral, and corrupt. And I'm going to refer to moderates as people that are prepared to say there's good people on both sides, there's people of goodwill on both sides. Now, with the extremists, their view is when we put forward an incremental model of change, we're actually going to dilute and slow down our progress. But I don't think there's much evidence of that when you turn to the psychology of negotiation and conflict. I think that there's instead a clear argument that what happens in conflict is usually that each side's extremists justify the other side's rejection and alienation. So if I see the view that environmentalists don't care about jobs, then I'm going to reject that entire message. If I see the view that economists don't care about trees, I'm going to reject that entire message. So it's by articulating a common ground and attempting to move forward at the center that we can achieve sustainable change that will last over time and be endorsed in a bipartisan way. Now, neither side's extremists will normally give a voice to moderates, and that's why it's often helpful for moderate groups to form and to speak in their own behalf. So while the movement for the environment, for example, might have an ecosystem of activist groups, I would argue that at the moment, Team Savage Attack is highly represented, where Team Center is actually not that loud of a voice and not that visible of a presence. So who will populate Team Center and who will speak up for those groups? I think it's a lot of the people that are joining the movement now. These are people coming into the environment movement because of the urgency of the problem, who don't necessarily identify as political, but who identify as pragmatic as opposed to ideological, positive as opposed to negative, and solution-focused as opposed to focused on a problem in the present. So these people are attempting to build a new political mobilization that is about coming together to take the steps and the actions that need to be taken. And as a result, I believe there's a potential for bipartisan change. Another factor that I think is really helpful in some of the center organizations is when people can speak from regional identities, whether that's at the state or national level, or from inclusive identities that might bring people together across political divides, like religious identities or perhaps some other identities related to, for example, the environment, like gardening or marine sports. The four factors that I think will bring people together to join and to be effective in Team Center are being more pragmatic rather than ideologically focused, being focused on solutions rather than wanting to diagnose the problem, being focused on a positive future rather than on the negative present that we're in now, and being focused on an inclusive identity and an inclusive fate that will bring together people from all sides and achieve positive change.